Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in this world. This is an edition of London Descending. We find ourselves on a lovely evening on the Westminster Bridge, looking out over the Thames, very close to the House of Parliament and St Thomas Cathedral. We are overlooking in the Westminster Bridge over the Thames in the direction of the Royal Festival Hall. Mr. Peck is leaning in his very expensive suit over the railing, and he's overlooking the Thames as he waits for a special guest, a newcomer in the city that he decides to um to do something special with.
Um, Lena will walk towards Mr. Peck while holding her bag in one hand and an umbrella in the other.
Mr. Peck,
Uh,
sorry,
she will walk up to him and good evening.
Mr. Peck will turn around and smile his appearance five smile. Well, good evening. How very well dressed you are. My compliments. Thank you for making it to my invitation. He will bow towards her, gently, like taking her hand if she offers it. If not, simple a bow.
She offers it.
He will kiss it gently, like the ones before time they met.
Um, the moment Mr. Peck lips touch Lena's hand, she will slightly squeeze in his hand, um, and she will smile at him. So, what have you planned for us tonight?
Well, since you, my dear lady, are a newcomer in London, I decided why not show you London through the eyes of his biggest travesty.
Lena will just look puzzled and respond, "Oh my!"
Mr. Peck smiles, and he offers his arm.
Lena will take it.
So, what do you think of London so far as he starts to walk along the Thames path towards the Queen's Walk?
Lena responds, "It truly is a beautiful city. So many old houses, such a rich history that the city has. It truly is amazing."
It is indeed. As they walk along the Thames path, the biggest travesty, as he called it, appears in front of them. As they walk along that path, the white, gleaming, shining eye of London appears.
How beautiful does it look? Look at all the lights. Isn't it
Right.
delightful to see it?
I call it a travesty, you call it a delight. Maybe I'm just too old to have any sort of appeasement for these modern things. However, if we would step into this very modern thing, I could show you London in all its glory. And as they walk along the Thames path and come up towards the London Eye, Mr. Peck will look at a person he has seen before, he has met before, and he smiles. And after a handshake, they are allowed onto the London Eye before anyone else. And as soon as they step into the cart, the driver of it, so to speak, stops the wheel and nobody else can enter. Then the wheel starts turning, and slowly but surely the carts go up and up and up, revealing more of the city, its lights, and its less modern art, and the beauty that Mr. London finds this city. And he sits back and crosses his legs and says, "This is my London."
Lena will just stand close to the window and looks outside, um, apparent joy at the view.
So, this is London in all its glory. I've been here a few times, but this time, the last time I went to stay. London is a frivolous, dark cesspit with no morals and no conscience. A city that, like New York, never sleeps, but when everyone else sleeps, things happen in London which happen nowhere else.
Lena will turn towards Mr. Pack and say, I couldn't imagine such a wonderful gentleman as you would find this a fit place to live, if all the travesties and horrors you tell me are true.
But that's the beauty of it. In its horror, it is unique. It is special in its own way. It's something that you rarely come across, and I've been around the world. I've been in New Amsterdam. I've been in New Orleans and Paris. I've been in Milan. And all those cities are great and have a great history, but none of them have the same morals as London. For when London sleeps or when the world sleeps, London keeps being awake. And the socialites of London, when they close their eyes, they change, the city changes into something far more dark, far more lustrous, but also far more interesting than any other city.
Lena will respond, um, you make London sound as so much more than it appears to be to the eye.
That's the beauty of it.
I would love to get to know the London that you see and know.
The London I know, my lady, is not for the faint of heart. I've been in places and been at places that no longer exist because of that. However, you're welcome to follow us in the step of the places I have been.
A true lady shouldn't be somewhere where things are shown that aren't fit for ladies. Lena will just say,
In this day and in this day and age, my lady, the female species of what we are have evolved themselves in thinking less of themselves as ladies, with more of organisms that can think for their own, can breathe what they want, they smoke, they drink, they curse, and all of this in our beautiful city, in London. And if you look really close, then you know that they have always done this, just only when the lights go down.
Lena will just sit down next to Mr. Pack um, and lay her hand on his arm. Um, you would try to keep me away from those things, wouldn't you?
No, I wouldn't. I
Lena will
wouldn't,
just
but I would
nod her
also not
head.
throw you into the fire, so to speak.
And Lena will just chuckle and say, I don't mind a bit of protection.
If you're looking for a great protector, maybe you should find a companion such as, well, say Camilla or Lord Shirley, if you're looking for a Toreador one. I'm not much for protection, although I will say that I know how to defend myself. But I excel in different things.
Um, Lena will look up uh, to the horizon and respond, Camilla truly is a wonderful woman, isn't she?
She is one of a kind.
Mr. Pack, what is it that you do in London?
That's a good question. I maintain London and its morals to be as depraved as they were years ago. I keep an eye on the things that are less than what they need to be, and I adjust accordingly.
That sounds as a challenging task.
I've been doing it for quite some time.
Doesn't it get lonely?
Lonely? I've never really considered that. I do have lots of contact with people, but none other really share my mind.
Um, Elena will just respond, what a shame.
It is. And you? Are you looking for a companion?
It would be nice to have someone and to call that home. But I don't want anyone to dictate what I do.
Right. That sounds fair to me. I truly believe if somebody wants to make mistakes, they should themselves be blamed. So if you want to go around and do as you please while having friends, I am not one to stop you. I always encourage people to do new things, meet new people.
That's good to hear.
But I'm not a media specialist like you. I'm sure it must be hard to to be so actively busy when the lights are on.
It is. And it can sometimes be hard to deal with more human affairs. They can be so fickle.
Well, if they only had our experience, they would turn less fickle and more looking towards the end.
I think they would.
The London Eye stops as it's totally on the top. Mr. Peck will rise up.
And Lena will kind of look bewildered at him. She was quite content how she was seated next to him.
He smiles at her and then says, "Don't worry, I will come back. But I wanted you to see this."
And Lena will get up and stand next to Mr. Pack. What?
When you're here, you can oversee London like if you were its king. If we look far enough, you can even see Regent Park and Hyde Park, Albert Hall, and of course the far end of the Tower of London. This is what our Queen offers us. A playing ground within the City of London. A place where we can call home.
Lena will
I
just politely smile at Pack.
I don't mind. If you need a friend to survive setting up your home. However, a great protector, I am not. I've never had the ambition to protect anyone, not because I might not be capable, but clearly because I still believe in the fact that everyone should make their own mistakes and learn from this. How otherwise would you personally be a better person in the end, if not learning to protect yourself? The ages are changing, and I hope to keep up, at least with the fact that people should take care of themselves.
Lena will just nod at this. I must say I agree with you.
So if you could pick a place where you want to live, where would you choose to live? In the tower? In the park? In Abbott's Hall? What would you choose?
Lena will just look across the horizon. And then her eyes will land on one of the parks. I would love to have my home near a park.
Near a park. Adequate choice. You should always get enough life around you when you yourself are not. You know where I would choose to live? If I could build a home anywhere you want. Right here, at the top of the London Eye, overseeing everything and everyone, like a king in my own castle.
And Lena will look at Pack with admiration. This would make a magnificent place to live. And you could see as far as the eye will reach.
Yes, it's too bad. Others will see the same, as these wagons are quite transparent. However, the point I'm trying to make is that the place where we are now is as depraved as it is beautiful, whether the lights are out or not. Mr. Peck seems to enjoy the view he has of the city. He's not captivated by it, he's not entranced by it, but he does seem happy, like sitting on a horse and feeling regal.
Lena will ask Mr. Peck, "Do you come here often?"
Maybe once a year. It's quite expensive to just stop the London Eye whenever you want.
Lena's brows will just rise at this. She didn't think, or she hasn't considered the fact that this has costed Mr. Peck in any way.
It's okay, my lady. McLean, was it not?
It is. But you may call me Lena.
Thank you. Then I will. People call me Mr. Peck, but when we ever have a private meeting, you may refer to me as Ebenezer if you want to, for this is my first name.
Lena will smile and incline her head. I will. Thank you.
He smiles and says, "Your skin is beautifully pale. I can but only imagine you must have been someone someone living in one of those beautiful Scottish castles, not working the lands like a commoner."
Lena will lift her hand to her cheek and touch her face. How impressive that you noticed.
When you're as old as I am, you have dined and walked among those of royal status, lords and ladies. I used to hold the title, you know, long, long ago.
Lena will say to Mr. Peck, "Will you sit with me and tell me your story?"
My story. I think that one is for another time, for there are so many stories, and I'm not like Tristain, a very good storyteller. However, I can tell you a story when I want to France, but you have to promise me that you won't be alarmed. Can you promise me this?
Lena kind of looks alarmed and a bit puzzled about this request. But then composes herself and say, I don't think anything you would do or can do would alarm me.
Mr. Peck will simply smile, that appearance 5 smile, and say, "I hope so." And then he says, "When way back, around the 1700s, I made a travel all the way towards America, trying to understand the world. After a few hundred years in Europe, Europe was kind of boring. Searching for new opportunities and new ways of living, I found myself living among a family that was so rich because of slavery and cottons that they started evolving into something else. The lady became a very great socialite, and her husband was a great surgeon, a man that is definitely growing in his practice, next to the fact that he was working in one of the greater hospitals down in New Orleans.
I
I've
heard
learned lessons there. Yes, go ahead.
I always wanted to visit New Orleans. I heard it's a really beautiful place with beautiful music.
The music is exquisite. So were the parties of those days. I lived with a family that partied 3 times a week, the entire weekend. They spent thousands and thousands of dollars on simple items, asking for nothing in return but company. Then, at one sudden moment, the lady of the house lost her temper. She hit a young slave girl. The slave girl was terrified and jumped out of a window.
And Lena
Of
will just make a oh my face and raise her hand in front of her mouth.
the girl suffered death. And of course, the city was enraged. Murder. The black slave girl was murdered by her owner, the mistress of the house. And normally, this would be a big fuzz. People would have trouble, people could go to prison. However, the lesson I learned there was that if you have money and if you have influence, all is fine in the world. For she did had paid the fine. She had to pay a fine, some 500 American dollars. No, 300 it was. 300 American dollars. While she previously put thousands and thousands of dollars in just another party, getting some exquisite pineapple of some sort. I've learned that power of influence is far more richer than any kind of money. Still, with money you buy influence. So I intended to make myself very rich. The lesson I've learned has paid off today, and that's why I can stop the great London Eye whenever I want, with just handing over bills with, at this moment, the Queen on them. The lesson I am happy to teach you, Miss Lena McLean, is that this city, like New Orleans, has no morals when you have money.
Um, Lena will respond, I do hope I never will be needing my influence in that kind of way. But if the
Now,
time comes, I think, can I count on you for guidance?
of course, I wouldn't mind, although I assume that you are well versed in smiling when you need to and disappearing when you have to. I do believe, after all, that you are from the clan of the Broken Mirror, are you not?
I am.
It's one of my favorite clans. Of all the friends that I have, most of friends are from the Broken Mirror. For one reason and one reason only.
What is that reason, Mr. Pack?
There is no bottom at the end of the pit when they fall. There's always a deeper layer, always a greater context, especially if you go into deep, deep discussions with them about things that other people haven't even thought about or dreamed of. They excel in things that people find dangerous. That danger attracts me. The danger of going deep into a mind attracts me. You, therefore, attract me.
Elena will just blush at this, which she can. Oh, Mr. Peck, you speak so promising about my clan and about me. You make me blush.
I never meant to cause you any discomfort in feeling a human blush rising up on your cheeks. However, I mean every word I say. You are most intriguing.
And Lena will put her hand on his arm and say, "Thank you."
You are, of course, most welcome. I'll be happy to tutor your world and steps in London as time comes. Happy to help if I can.
Of course, I will be calling upon you, but I hope more often than not it won't be work related. And she will wink.
Mr. Peck smiles. He smiles a wider smile. And he says, "Non work related. You are indeed brave. But you are very welcome to come and visit me while I'm hosting a party. It has been a while ago, and it's not for the faint of heart."
Lena will just raise an eyebrow at this. Well, perhaps I will attend.
You are most welcome. The London Eye starts to move. Probably because Mr. Peck tapped his foot twice at a specific location. As the eye moves, he comes and sits down next to her again. He places his hand on her hand while she is holding his arm.
And Lena will just smile and look up at him.
You should watch out with those eyes. People could drown in those green rivers you have.
And Mr. Peck just made Lena blush even more.
Speck smiles. He says, "Well, it's been a while since I've courted a lady which blushes as much as you do. But I must say it's entertaining in a way. It has been so long."
Lena will just chuckle and say, "I'm glad you think me entertaining."
Like I said, you and your clan are the most interesting and entertaining thing we have within our Camarilla society.
Perhaps one day I will be able to entertain you as well.
And what would this entertainment behold?
Lena will just wink at him and smile. That's a secret.
Oh, absolutely adore secrets. They're like little puzzles that I simply have to unravel.
And Lena will just respond, then unravel you shall.
Great. I can't wait. As the London Eye comes down, he rises up, steps out. Clear you can see that the row before the eye of people who need to enter is quite long, and many people look either jealous at you or pissed at Pack for having the London Eye for themselves for an entire circle.
Lena will just stand there and wait for Mr. Peck to lead the way, but she will lay her hand on his arm so that he can lead the way and she can follow.
Mr. Peck will move along and walk towards a more familiar place, which is in front of the old Elysium they had. My lady, like every evening, this one has to end as well.
I must say I do regret ending this meeting.
Well, there's no reason to not have continuous meetings after this one.
I would love that. And Lena will just extend her hand towards Mr. Peck.
Mr. Peck will bow like before and kiss the hand as chivalrous as before. And he will rise up and lock eyes with her for a moment and smile, saying, "Until we meet again."
At the moment, Mr. Peck says, "Until we meet again." She gently squeezes his hand. "Until we meet again."
Mr. Peck will bow and just stand and wait if she walks away.
And Elena will turn around and open her umbrella and walk off.
He smiles as she opens her umbrella. He does look so very innocent and pristine. And at that moment, I'd like to close off this scene. Thank you for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. And good night.